All right, so we're diving into another deep dive today, and
Always a pleasure.
I've got this forum thread here
Oh boy.
that you sent my way, and it's a classic. It's one of those evergreen WAW forum topics.
Mm-hmm.
It's titled "It's Time to Nerf SAP."
Ah, yes. As timeless as complaining about paladins in vanilla,
Yeah.
it seems some arguments never die. They
Right.
just get a fresh coat of pixels every few years.
Exactly, and this one comes from the mind of Daddycool, a truly inspired name, I have to say.
Oh, an instant classic.
Yeah.
A
yeah.
name that just screams balanced and reasonable arguments.
And Daddycool really dives right in here.
Well, let's hear what Daddycool has to say.
They're basically saying that SAP being instant and spammable and usable while invisible and out of combat is just completely unfair.
It's almost like they've never encountered a rogue before in their life.
Right?
Like it's their signature move.
Yeah, it's like asking a mage to stop using Frostbolt.
Exactly. Where's the fun in that?
But Daddycool has a solution. A very simple and elegant solution.
I'm all ears.
A 10-second cooldown on SAP.
Ah, yes.
Simple, right?
The mark of a true armchair game designer.
Yeah.
Always with the easy fixes.
Right, but of course, this being the WoW forums, this thread doesn't just sit there quietly.
Oh, of course not. This is where the real show begins.
Exactly. Enter Erlindi Ravencrest, stage left.
Ah, yes. A name that whispers tales of glorious PvP victories.
Oh yeah, Erlindi comes in swinging with the classic get good response.
The timeless classic.
Telling Daddycool to stop whining about getting pinned in PvP and to learn how to plan ahead.
It's like they say in the arena, if you're losing, it's clearly your fault, not the game's.
Yeah, and then we have Bredismoney Trellion chiming in.
Bread is funny, always a voice of reason amidst the chaos.
Exactly. They point out that this thread is basically a carbon copy of 1,000 other threads from the Cataclysm era.
Yes, proving that some arguments in the WoW community are as eternal as the Lich King himself.
And Bredismoney even uses the term circle jerk to describe it, which I think is very appropriate.
Indeed, a term that perfectly encapsulates the cyclical nature of these debates.
But just when you think you've seen it all, just when you think you've got this thread figured out,
There's always a twist.
there's a twist.
I live for these moments.
Daddycool drops a bombshell.
Do tell.
They admit to not even playing the game.
You're kidding?
Oop.
But they're so passionate about nerfing SAP.
Apparently, they couldn't get a refund on their subscription, and so now they're waging war on the forums.
The purest form of protest.
Right?
When life gives you lemons, you take to the WoW forums and demand balance changes.
Of course, the thread explodes at this point.
Just as it should.
We've got Adamus Moonguard asking the very valid question. Better question. Why is bro subbed?
Indeed, why subject yourself to the torment of a game you're not even playing?
And then things take an even weirder turn with Gaionar, who appears out of nowhere,
Gaionar. Always one to keep us on our toes.
to inquire about Adamus' bathing habits.
Because, when discussing the intricacies of rogue mechanics, it's only natural to wonder about the hygiene of your fellow forum posters.
Right. But through all this, Daddycool remains undeterred.
A true champion of the unsubbed.
They double down on their list of things that need to be done,
Is that good?
and even claim to have been playing probably before you were born.
The ultimate power move?
I know, right?
Invoking age and experience in a debate where they haven't even logged in.
Bredismoney chimes in again at this point, pulling out the "Are you trolling?" card.
A valid question at this juncture.
I mean, it's almost too perfect.
Right. It's like something out of a satirical play.
But then we start to see some actual discussion break out amidst the chaos.
Finally, a glimmer of hope.
Sabia Moonrunner tries to explain SAP's diminishing returns mechanic.
Diminishing returns, that beautiful system designed to prevent abilities from being spammed endlessly, except, of course, in Classic. Wow.
Of course, and speaking of classic, Avel Miguin Crusader's Strike decides to remind everyone that SAP is even more brutal in that version of the game.
A true historian of pain.
They even drop a fun fact about the rogue stealth sound effect being an accidental addition.
See, sometimes these threads do offer valuable insights.
Yeah, so we've got a non-playing balance expert, a chorus of good veterans, and some genuinely insightful comments sprinkled in for good measure.
It's the classic recipe for a WoW forum thread.
What do you make of it all so far?
It's a beautiful mess. A glorious tapestry of absurdity and passion woven together with the threads of digital discourse.
Beautifully put.
It's a microcosm of the WoW community itself, really.
And we're just getting started.
Oh yes, we've only just scratched the surface of this digital rabbit hole.
We'll be right back after a short break to delve even deeper into this delightful mess of a forum thread.
Stay tuned, folks. Things are about to get even more interesting.
So don't go anywhere.
All right, so we're back, and we're still knee-deep in this SAP saga.
Yeah, still trying to make sense of it all.
Well, let's be honest. It's hard not to be at least a little bit entertained by all this.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's the WoW forums. What did we expect?
Exactly, a bastion of reason and measured debate.
Right, so...
Where were we?
Yes. Daddycool, our unsubbed hero, was just regaling us with tales of their gaming prowess from a time before most of our listeners were probably born.
And let's not forget their very specific and totally reasonable demand for a 10-second cooldown on SAP.
Yes, a change that would surely bring balance to the Force.
But amidst all the chaos and the memes, there are some glimmers of actual discussion happening in this thread.
Oh, really? I'm surprised.
Yeah, like Christopher Grobulus, who brings up a pretty valid point about the frustration of fighting rogues in PvP.
I mean, who hasn't been on the receiving end of a well-timed sap followed by a kidney shot and a cheap shot, and then you just kind of lay there watching your health bar disappear?
It's practically a ritual at this point.
Right. It's like the rogue initiation ceremony.
And then there's Nocturne Totem offering up a potential solution, a 3-second cast time per sap. Now that's an interesting idea.
Right. At least it's a bit more measured than just slapping a 10-second cooldown on it.
Though I imagine the rogue community would have a collective aneurysm if that ever happened.
Yeah, it's like asking them to give up stealth altogether.
Speaking of aneurysms, remember Finioke Moonguard and their epic meltdown about rogues being overpowered?
Oh, yeah. I think I can still hear the caps lock echoing in my ears.
It was a masterpiece of forum rage.
A true work of art.
Complete with all the grammatical errors and misplaced fury that we've come to expect from these kinds of threads.
It's like they say you haven't truly experienced the WoW forums until you've been on the receiving end of a caps lock rant.
And Finioke delivered in spades.
Absolutely. But amidst all the noise, let's not forget Avelmagwin Crusader Strike, who not only debunked Daddycool's claims of veteran status,
Oh yeah, that was a nice test.
but also dropped some knowledge about the rogue stealth sound effect being an accidental addition.
You know, it's those little tidbits of WoW dev history that I really enjoy.
Me too. It's like you're learning something while also being entertained.
Exactly. It's edutainment at its finest.
So, what do you make of all this now that we've delved a bit deeper?
Well, I'm still not sure if Daddycool is a master troll or just a genuinely frustrated player who's taking their anger out on the forums.
Yeah, it's a tough call.
But I think that's part of what makes this thread so fascinating.
The mystery.
Exactly. It's like a digital whodunit,
And we may never know the true answer.
which is probably for the best. Honestly, some mysteries are better left unsolved.
True, that. But you know what else I find interesting?
What's that?
Even with all the absurdity and the memes, there are some genuinely good points being made in this thread.
You know, you're right.
Like Christopher's comment about the frustration of fighting rogues in PvP,
It's a sentiment that I think a lot of players can relate to.
and Nock's suggestion of a 3-second cast time for SAP. At least it's a starting point for a discussion about potential balance changes.
It shows that even in the most chaotic of forum threads, there can be some nuggets of wisdom and insight.
It's like sifting through a pile of dirt and finding a gold nugget.
A perfect analogy.
So, I guess the question is, where do we go from here?
Well, I think it's time to take a closer look at some of these individual comments and see if we can extract some more of those golden nuggets.
Yeah, good idea. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty and see what else we can uncover.
I'm ready when you are. Welcome back, folks. We're in the final stretch of our SAP Saga deep dive.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, hasn't it?
From unsubbed balance experts to classic WoW flashbacks, we've covered it all.
And of course, let's not forget Daddycool, the legend, the myth, the unsubbed crusader.
A true icon of the WoW forums.
But you know what I think is really interesting about all this?
What's that?
Beyond all the memes and the jokes, there's a real sense of passion in this thread.
Oh, absolutely. People care about this game.
Yeah, even if they're not actually playing it.
Which is kind of ironic when you think about it.
It is. It's like they're so invested in the game that they can't even let go when they're not subbed.
Maybe it's a form of love.
Tough love.
Or maybe it's just that the WoW forums are a great place to vent.
Like a digital therapist's couch.
Exactly, where you can just let all your frustrations out.
Because, let's be real, who hasn't been annoyed by a rogue at some point?
It's practically a rite of passage in WoW.
Right. You're just minding your own business, trying to quest or something, and bam, you're sapped and then dead before you can even react.
It's the rogue way.
But even though it's frustrating, it's also kind of part of the game's charm. You know?
You gotta respect the skill it takes to pull off a good sap.
Yeah. And it makes for some pretty funny stories, too.
Oh, absolutely. I've got a whole folder of screenshots of me getting ganked by rogues in the most ridiculous ways.
We've all been there.
It's a bonding experience.
Exactly. It's like a shared trauma that brings the community together.
And that's what I love about the YW community. Even when we're complaining about something, we're doing it together.
It's like a big dysfunctional family.
Exactly. We might fight and argue, but at the end of the day, we're all in this together.
For better or for worse.
For Azeroth.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the biggest takeaway for you?
I think it's that the YW community is a complex and multifaceted beast.
It's full of contradictions and absurdities.
But it's also incredibly passionate and dedicated.
Yeah, even the unsubbed ones.
Even the unsubbed ones.
And you know what? At the end of the day, that's what makes it so special.
Couldn't agree more.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the wild world of the YW forums.
It's been a pleasure as always.
And until next time, may your rotations be smooth, your queues be short, and your forum threads filled with just the right amount of chaos.
And may your saps always land.
Unless you're on the receiving end, of course.
In that case, may your escape artist be on cooldown.
Exactly.